Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Oh.
That's not good. Hold on. Hold on.
I told you this thing wasn't going to work. I told you. Sinkhole. This thing's going in a sinkhole. Oh, man.
No, I forgot. That was my fault.
Oh. You pushed the blow up the studio button? What noise was that? Could people hear that?
Yeah. That was about as disastrous of a start show I've ever had.
Worst.
This was my fault. I swapped the wires yesterday because we were hearing a hum a little bit, and I swapped it to your old mic.
Now you wish you were just hearing that hum.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, guess we're not doing a show today. Help us. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Holy
Look, man,
cow.
I'm doing a lot of things today, and I just forgot which mic you were actually on.
Let me try this again. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. I got big news. Big news. We are making the stickers that say "Hey, babies" on them.
We have had requests to get the stickers, so they're happening.
Like requests from who? From texters?
I had a DM yesterday.
From a real person or a
real
bot?
Person that I have messaged
Is it a
with.
whiz bot?
No, it's not a whiz bot. That said, I would happily take a bumper sticker. I've had people get into our mentions and say they
want the bumper sticker?
Take bumper sticker.
Great.
Our boy Ty, to that guy that was really rude to you, but you can't see your mentions, tweeted at the guy, "No bumper sticker for you, I guess," after he was really mean to you. So we're going to order a few. We're going to order a few.
Okay.
And if you got one, you know, it's privileged right that you're going to get one. So.
I would tweet it out if I had a Twitter account.
So.
I don't have a Twitter account. Yeah. Still, I don't know what it is.
You
no Twitter account.
Scratching a little bit. Y'all got any more tweets? Oh, no, you got Empire back.
Now that I'm back, kind of. But you know what? Like, are all the trending topics the same, or does it go into different silos for you?
Different silos for me.
See, so that's what I think. I don't think I'm back in the rhythm of the things that I would follow normally. I will say, though, it is nice the last couple of days off of FBI raids not to have the trending whatevers that I'm going to get today of Civil War, countries exploding, all that stuff.
That's good.
Yeah. Oddly, the Civil War didn't start yet.
No, it hasn't. I don't think it will. But,
just shoot me a note when it does, because I just want to be aware of it.
Shoot you. Slide into the DMs.
Yeah, slide into the Empire Media DM so I see it, and let me know when it actually happens.
There you go.
Just so I know,
right.
Just so I know.
Right.
Because I haven't bought a gun yet, so,
Fair enough.
Not yet.
Fair enough.
Not yet. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. So stickers are happening. Happy about that.
Yes.
Commanders jerseys have been listed for dates. Yes. I'll do that in a minute.
Yeah.
But the news of the day was a surprise that happened this morning at the park where Ron Rivera walked into the tent and said, "We fired our defensive line coach today over, I don't know, I think his wording was difference of opinion."
Yeah. Yeah.
And left it at that. And then walked out of the room, and they brought in the new defensive line coach, who's been here. So it's not like he hasn't been here. He's been here. And then he seemed surprised. I would put that lightly because I watched that one live. That was one of those. I think his line was, "I woke up this morning and found out that this was happening and had no idea that this was happening."
Exactly.
So, all right. Let me tell you what I know.
All right.
And that is, had this happened 2 months ago, 3 months ago, right after the season last year, I would not have been surprised at all. Mm-hmm. And I know Sam Mills has a long relationship with Ron Rivera, and he's been with him in Carolina for a long time. They brought a lot of people up here. But the reality is he and this group of defensive linemen have been oil and water for a long time. This was an incredible relationship that was going on. That was no secret. That was out there. But, we came around to another year, and he's still in the position. And I think everyone's settled into Rivera thinks he does a great job, and he wants these guys to practice a certain way, play a certain way. There's been a lot of pushback about that. The players themselves, they'll, quietly tell you they're not particularly happy with the coaching from that specific department. And so if this happened 3-4 months ago, it wouldn't have surprised me in the slightest bit whatsoever. The fact that we're 2+ weeks into training camp does come as a surprise to me. Mm-hmm. So, and if you're waiting for me to tell you what happened, I don't know. So I don't know what happened. I'm not even going to speculate. I don't know what happened. But I do know that was probably, I don't even think it's debatable. That was the most tenuous relationship between a group of players and their position coach on the team, and not close. And that's been going on from the jump with this.
2019?
From the start.
Or 2020, I should say.
Yeah, from the start.
Okay.
That position group and that coach did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, but they got through the first 2 years together, and it looked like they were heading into year 3 together, and obviously something happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but obviously something happened.
My first reaction off this is clearly something caused it, because it was on a Tuesday, week 2 of training camp. That's not timed out by any means, so something suddenly happened or came to a head that caused this, right?
Right, something happened, obviously. This is abnormal. So something happened. I don't know what, but something happened.
Right, and it's kind of weird too, because they're in Ashburn. It's not like they're in Richmond where the team is isolated, so you are meeting with people at night or whatever.
They
or
also
blow up or
haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah, there hasn't been a game yet.
And
so.
If you were something's wrong with the D-line, if that was the narrative, that hasn't been the narrative.
Right. They've been killing people in practice.
Yes. In fact, every day I walk in here and I go, I wish, Montez Sweat would take it easy a little bit and let old Carson get a couple of wins for once, because he could really use it.
And to what we have always said about Ron likes to have all of his ducks in a row heading into June, essentially.
Ron is also fiercely loyal to his guys, this is one of his guys.
Yeah.
So is this the first of his guys that he's had to let go?
He hasn't made any coaching changes, right?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
If anything, if someone got plucked, that would be different. But I don't even think that's happened.
No, this has pretty much been the same group for a few years now.
Right.
This was a surprise. He came with them from Carolina. He is fiercely loyal to the people from Carolina. You're in the club with him. You're really in the club with him. But I can just tell you from what I know, and this was no secret amongst the people who are around the team all the time, that particular position group did not love the coaching that was going on from him specifically. I do think hopefully it's not incredibly disruptive that they've gone to somebody who's been there with them, the last couple of years. But I mean, if you saw this interview with the new D-line coach, he was shocked, almost like he didn't know what to say. Shocked,
right?
Almost like he didn't know what happened.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you're just well, I saw it.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know what it is. I'm sure eventually someone will whisper what it is. I don't know right now what it is. I assume something occurred, because it's unusual in the middle of camp when there's no bad narrative going on. It's not like, oh my God, what's wrong with Montez Sweat? That's not happening. They are coming off of a disappointing year for sure. And then it got complicated by the end. There were some changes that occurred along the D-line in the spring that I know surprised some people. I was not surprised when Matt Ioannidis was let go, not because of the coaching, but for a lot of other reasons. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was making some pretty decent money, and there were some caps. There was a lot going on there. There was some cap stuff. They weren't going to extend him. How could they? If they can't extend Payne, how can they extend him? So there was a lot. So there was money considerations with him. And there were some other things going on with him specifically. And then the Tim Settle one ended. I think that was in my opinion, just a miss by the front office not to re-sign him.
Yes.
Because it's not like it cost a lot of money to do it. And there wasn't, how can I put this? Complications like there was with Ioannidis.
Yeah.
There were complications with Ioannidis that were different than with Settle. from all I knew, there wasn't any complications with Settle other than he would have liked to have played more. And even if he did resign here, in all likelihood, he wasn't going to be playing more.
Right.
But it's not like he got a lot of money from Buffalo.
No, that was one
right?
actually. That's what I was actually trying to think of before the show. I knew there was a situation here where a decision was made and it was bad both ways, and that was it. It was they let Tim Settle walk for next to nothing to Buffalo, and then they cut Ioannidis, and then that caused them to have to draft a defensive lineman in the second round.
Yeah.
It was about a worst case scenario you could get when you had a plethora of riches at the position.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, when Ioannidis was let go, I figured Settled would be resigned, and when that didn't happen, one caught me off guard.
That wasn't it. He was already signed in Buffalo, I think.
Maybe
I think that's what it was because it happened late. It didn't, and that was remember Matt Ioannidis bitched about it, rightfully so. How they released him late. Like they released him late. They didn't give him a chance to really get out there with the first wave of free agents, and I agree with him, but the complaint didn't come until later, I guess.
I'll reiterate with Ioannidis, that one's more complicated than you might think.
Sure.
There were some complications there that I have information about that I don't want to go into.
Right.
Because I didn't even heard it from him specifically, and I just don't think it's fair to say these things. But you hear a lot of things, and so that one's different. Settle was. They just didn't re-sign him, and considering how much money he got, that was very surprising that they didn't do that, because I know he was well-liked, and all of a sudden their depth was challenged, and then they went out and got another defensive lineman, and maybe one of these kind of under-the-radar guys like Daniel Wise or David Bada, maybe they feel like they can get the same thing out of them that they get out of Settle, and therefore, so it's not like it's the biggest loss on earth that they lost him.
Of course.
But he falls in this Peyton Barber category from last year where I went, there's no reason not to have him back. Correct. It's not like it's not like he's making a lot of money. Everybody really likes him, and he can play. I know he's not Daron Payne, but it's nice to have a backup like that. I don't know, not everybody has to be the star, and they can be important. So that one was a surprise. Today, I'm not exactly sure what happened. Clearly something did. I don't know what it is, but clearly something did, because no head coach would do this in the middle of training camp without a reason. And trust me, we see the cracks in the foundation, and I didn't see this one specifically, and it could just be that they came to a final whatever it is with one another, because it's been going on for a long time. There's been a lot of friction between this group and that specific coach. Right. And Rivera, of course, is fiercely loyal to his guys. And listen, maybe he saw this coming. I mean, Warren Sapp was brought in here to check out the D-line, in the offseason, and he played it down like he wouldn't do anything. Guess who was there at practice today? Ryan Kerrigan, retired. All of a sudden, he's having a, quote, internship.
Yep.
See how you feel about this over a couple of weeks. And so maybe this was something that bubbled up earlier, and Rivera started to go towards contingency plans. So maybe this has been kind of rolling downhill for a while, and it just feels weird because it happened when it happened. Because typically these decisions are made early, and that's the weird part of this. Had you told me this happened 6 months ago, I wouldn't even have thought twice about it. I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. Knowing what I know about the relationship between that coach and that group of players and how important that group of players is, I'm not surprised that they're going to side with the players at some point.
One thing I would say, too, is that actually, kind of shocked me was not that Kerrigan was not just hanging around, but I saw clips from the scrimmage on Saturday where he was running the pregame drills, or whatever you want to call it, the pre-scrimmage drills, kind of, where he was directing the defensive line, and I was kind of like, he's a little more involved than I thought he would be. I don't know how you feel about it, but I thought, for a guy that just retired, he's actually doing some things on the field, and I didn't really think they were going to fire Sam Mills, but now...
I didn't. Well, not now, I didn't.
And now I'm kind of like, maybe that was the disagreement. Maybe it was Sam Mills. This is me speculating. I'm not reporting. Maybe it was him looking over his shoulder going, if you're going to keep doing this, I'm out. And maybe it just came to a head.
Maybe. I don't know what it is. I'll wait and hear what it is.
Right.
But the idea that this is completely out of the blue, it's not. There's been friction between those players and that coach it dates back to the first year. It's not just last year, it was the first year. And then we all saw what happened last year. Nobody's happy with the output that occurred, especially early in the season when the guys were healthy. Remember, they were talking about sack records, and they were historically one of the worst third down defenses in NFL history in the first 6-7 weeks of the season.
Right.
So clearly they were never seeing eye to eye. But knowing Rivera, he is fiercely loyal to his people, and probably last thing he ever wants to do is let any of them go. But clearly something broke.
Right.
So I'll get more on this tomorrow, because basically it was like end of practice. Here's a bombshell.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go run in the building. Good luck figuring it out.
Right.
And,
have fun with that.
Yeah, and like it looks. Look, listen. I mean, like I'm not going to pretend it doesn't look. It doesn't look good. Like it falls in line of another like what in the world is going on out there type of things.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to see it that way. I find it odd that it occurred here. Had it happened the day before camp, I would have been like, okay,
right.
And I wouldn't have been surprised at all. But because we're this far into it, and knowing that Rivera is one of those, when you're on the team, let's go.
Yes, yeah.
This was a surprising turn of events, and I'm sure by now the people I talk to are going to know what happened, and I'll probably I'll find out, and then we'll see if we talk about it or not.
Fair enough.
Okay, so there's that.
Yes.
All right. The other thing they put out today, well-timed for them to try to change the news cycle, is they have decided they know what they're wearing to every home game, which, in certain years I wouldn't care, but in this year, because it's the first year and it's because it's all new jerseys and a whole new look, I'm mildly interested in that. And the first time you're going to see them, hope you like the all-white, because that's what they're going with for the first one.
Yeah, so it settles out like this. They will wear all white this weekend against the Panthers. Mm-hmm. Then the first two home games, which I'm shocked at, they're wearing the whites against the Jaguars and the Eagles.
Maybe they want to wear white because it's hot. I don't know.
Maybe.
Then
you won't see that again until week 18 against the Cowboys.
Maybe they're not selling as many of those and would like to do those early.
I will debunk you instantly and say there's only two available, Chase Young and Terry McLaurin, and they only went on sale last week. So
the white ones.
Yeah, so no, it's not the case. They don't even have them in stock is what's happening.
Oh, okay.
So I would just say it probably is a weather-related thing. And then I guess if you're going to wear them against the Cowboys, they always used to wear their white jerseys against the Cowboys. So that's fine. Yep. I don't mind that.
That's the last game of the year, and they're doing the white out. Remember that?
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
And then the 4 dates they're wearing the burgundy jerseys will be the preseason, or not? That's not preseason. Sorry, I have Ravens on the mind. They're playing the Titans October 9th, so it'll be the first time you see the burgundy. Then October 23rd, they've got the Packers. You'll see them again there. Then December 17th or 18th, you've got the Giants, because that's the weird week before Christmas. You can play Saturday or Sunday.
You know what? Those old school Giants 80s jerseys are pretty good anyway, so hopefully they wear those.
They're going to wear those at home, the Giants.
Oh, they're not?
So
they're not wearing those on the road?
I don't think so.
All right.
Then the Browns on New Year's Day, 1-1. You'll get the burgundy again. And then you get 2 dates for the black jerseys. That'd be
Kurt.
11-6 against Kurt. And then 11-27 against the Falcons. One of those, I think it's the Kurt game, is the blackout game that they're hyping up. So you get the black jerseys for 2 separate dates in November.
Okay, Mr. Merch, you have a review of this? Do you have a take on that? I'm only interested because it's year one with new stuff. Outside of that, I really wouldn't care what they were wearing at any given week, but because it's year one and new stuff, it's semi-interesting to me.
So I'm going to just weigh in here and say it's weird. They had already hyped up one of the dates as a whiteout, which is the Cowboys game. They had already hyped up the...
And I'm assuming they're going to wear all white on that.
I would assume so.
Right.
They had already hyped up the blackout date against Kurt. I'm just superstitious in this way. If they somehow go on a run on one of the other jerseys, you've already locked yourself into wearing.
Oh, you don't like that they've locked themselves into
Correct.
something.
I don't have a problem really with the schedule. I have a problem with saying, if they're 4-0 in the burgundy jerseys.
Okay, so you're just doing a superstitious thing right now, saying, look, because actually, in the years past, when they went the white on white, Rivera even admitted the guys like wearing this, and they started wearing it regularly.
Right. Exactly. And like Joe Gibbs did this too. When they went on a hot run in 2005, they wore white on whites, and they wore them for like 6 games straight, including the playoffs, and continued to win in them. So I'm a little superstitious in that. I will say it's a little college-esque. Like the Terps did this a couple years back when they won like 3 games. If you remember, I think it was Edsel would tweet out like the uniform combination the Wednesday before each game.
Well, we were doing that last year.
Which is fine.
I think Washington was doing it last year. I think they were putting, if I remember right, they did that last year where they said the uniform combination. They did that.
I thought they did that the morning of. I thought it was a little bit
maybe
later.
Okay, I don't remember. Maybe. All right.
Yeah,
maybe.
And it was. Dave Preston tweeted at me earlier. He said it was Randy Edsall. Tweeted it in each Wednesday, and they finished 2-10 under Edsall, and he kept doing it. So
I think that 2-10 had a lot more to do with Edsall than the color combination of their jerseys.
Correct.
But at me if you think I'm wrong about that.
Right. So I guess their only variation here is going to be the pants. I guess if they have some kind of hot combination there, you have the pants. But
which coach of any team was disliked universally more than Randy Edsall?
No one.
In recent years, at least.
No one.
Was there anyone who was universally more disliked than that guy?
Nope. Because he left and people were still looking at his stupid contract and said,
yeah. They were nitpicking the whole thing. Like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it was because he replaced Fridge. And people were like, there were a lot of people like me who were going, you're firing him?
Yeah, right.
Like, are you kidding?
Right.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why would you fire him for anybody right now if it's not going to be Joe Gibbs? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why are you doing that? And then they brought this guy in, and he turned out to be a piece of work.
That's right. It's not like the same problem with Turge. People hated Turge because he wasn't Gary. That was really reason number one.
But at least Turge, I was willing to hear out and see Turge. Sure. Turge seemed like a nice man.
Sure.
Randy Edsall did not seem like a nice man at all.
Sure, but then
Turge seemed like a genuine nice human being.
But then he ran with his tail between his legs at the end anyway.
At the end.
So, at the end of the day, it was like, I just wasted a decade of my life defending this guy.
He goes down to me as a quitter, which, sucks.
Yes.
And he quit because finally he had a decent team that looked like it was going to make a run.
Right.
Started with a thud. He didn't like being told his team stinks, and he cried and left.
Which is patently ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Anyway, all right. So you think that you don't like this because it takes away the spontaneity and the momentum of we like how we look in this. Let's keep wearing this.
Right. But here's the thing. You even say don't like. I think that's even too strong. I just feel you've backed yourself into a corner if you go on a run with one of these things. At the end of the day, does uniform...
they can change their mind at any given point, right? Can't they? Is this isn't a contract with God. Like, they could change... Like, if they're like, we said we were going to wear this, but we've decided not to, like, why can't they do that?
They could, but people on the internet are going to go, ha, idiots released a uniform schedule and didn't even adhere to it. You know what I mean? Like, It's not me. I'm just saying you left yourself open.
The internet does that with literally everything, though.
It's true. No, you're absolutely right. So
I am more concerned I would be way more concerned about firing an assistant coach in the middle of training camp as a sign of interesting times over we changed our mind about which jersey we're wearing this weekend against Carolina. Sorry, Panthers.
I actually would have liked it. They do a lot of fan interaction lately. Like, they obviously let everyone weigh in on the name last year. They're going to let everyone weigh in on the fight song and on the mascots. I think they should have picked one game, maybe that Browns game, New Year's Day, something like that. Fan vote. You get to pick the jersey and the pants. Whatever you guys want. We'll have a fan vote. Whatever we want to wear, you guys get to pick. I think if they don't do that at least once, why not let fans
that's a Bodie McBoatface like potential outcome, though.
Email it to season ticket holders only. Fine, do that.
Okay.
Because I know that I had to do the same thing with picking out the jersey.
Because if you did that, people will be like, "Where are the Redskins jerseys?"
Yeah. Or you'd have people pick an ugly combo, like the white pants with the black jersey or something like that.
Right. Do that.
Yeah, looks stupid.
Looks stupid. Anyway,
let season ticket holders do it next year or something like that. I think.
Man. We had such a quiet camp going too. Really, I mean, outside of. Carson Wentz is kind of all over the place. And the weird part is, of all days, this is the one good thing he doesn't pay attention to any of this. He actually had a really good day.
He looked really good today.
He had a really good day today. Like probably his best day.
Yeah.
But then Ron walked into the tent and said, "Don't look at that today. We're getting rid of this guy."
It was actually really funny. I saw aggregate websites that just tweet articles out.
Yeah.
The Carson Wentz inaccurate posts were hitting Roto World and I think Pro Football Talk as Pete Haley was tweeting about how great he was today. All in a row. And I was like, "Oh, this is great."
No, it was probably his overall best day.
Good
overall.
Commander Carson.
Well, it's like the scales had to start tipping the other way at some point.
Right.
Like, at some point, it's like he's going to hit the buzzer and the guy's going to fall in the dunking booth. Right. One of these days, that's going to happen. The day he did it, Sam Mills gets fired.
Right. Before you take a break, just a reminder to everyone, 1-833-ESPN 630. You can text into the show.
Oh, that's right. And then hang on to that. Mm-hmm. Is it the text thing that we do this with the giveaway thing?
Did you not read the copy I sent you 5 minutes ago?
I didn't read it yet, but it was the one I read the other day, right?
It's close to it.
We're going to give away tickets to see the Orioles and the Cubs, and I get to say a code word that you have to text to us, which I haven't said yet.
You haven't?
No, it's not Sam Mills.
It's not Sam Mills.
It's not the code word today. It's not
Cubs,
broken microphones.
Cubs, Orioles, Camden Yards, next Thursday, 3 o'clock start. We don't have a show. Come play hooky with us.
Here's the other part of this, too. My wife and kids are going out of town that day, which is very unusual, which means that night, who knows?
It's going to be come with
who
Brad
knows?
to play poker, too.
Who knows? Anything goes.
Pickles Pub before and after the game?
It's going to be a big night. Big night.
Some Orange Crush is there on?
I haven't done. This will be the first time in 15 years I've had one of these.
Wow.
Who knows what's going to happen?
This happened last year, though. Didn't last year you have a Orioles game where they went out of town, too, and like you were like, I'm gonna have some fun? Something like that. I don't
remember.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah. All right, let me take a quick break. Jeff Passan wrote a piece that is 8 million words about Juan Soto being traded, and I'll read a few of them to you next. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Hi, everyone.
Having trouble with microphone numbers today.
Man, I can't wait to get those stickers. What stickers are they making down the hall?
They've already made them. They have. They're like really popular, actually. I don't remember what the saying is on it, but it's for Larry O'Connor's show. Yeah.
You got a big day down there today.
It's big
day.
Big ratings day.
Big day. Big day. This is the hot take of all hot take days. This is a big day down there.
That's right.
They stole our format, by the way. Sports radio invented this. Y'all took it too far, but you stole the hot take thing.
Look, sports is always a facilitator for what's hot next.
That's right. That's right.
It's true.
All right, let's see. Jeff Passan wrote a piece. It would take me a year to read it on the air to you about the Soto trade, but it's a pretty darn good recap of the whole thing. So I'm going to try to skip ahead to some of the interesting parts.
It's definitely more in the end. I think those are the more juicier parts that we haven't heard yet, and the reasoning behind the trade, which I think we're now starting to see why it actually happened.
Yeah, I'll read this part. In mid-April, the Washington Post reported that the owners of the Nationals, the Lerner family, were exploring a sale of the team and had enlisted the go-to banker for such transactions, Allen & Company, to assist in that process. Normally, news of team sales lands without much fanfare until an agreement is in place and a new owner to shepherd the franchise arrives. But across the country, the antenna of Scott Boras immediately fluttered. Boras represents Soto, and he soon flew to Washington to forecast for Soto what the sale could mean. His calculus was simple. The Nationals might take another crack or two at offering Soto a contract extension, maybe even one that would set a record for guaranteed dollars in American team sports. But considering where the Nationals were, 3 years separated from a World Series win with a shallow farm system and a last-place Major League roster, the team might prefer to pursue a trade. Signing Soto long-term would necessitate heavier spending around him, and such capital improvements could impact bidding negatively. If there was anything the Lerners would not abide, it was circumstances depressing the Nationals' sale price. So, what Passan is writing that Boras is suggesting is that actually they wanted to trade him. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to sign him.
Right.
They assumed he wouldn't take the deal that was put in front of him,
correct,
even though it was the most money ever, guaranteed.
Yep.
Because he believes that they'll get a better sale price without that on the ledger.
Correct. Because what it facilitated, and I think he mentions it later on, was that had they actually signed Juan Soto to a deal, it puts out there that you're trying to compete. And therefore, because there's nothing in the Nationals farm system, the next set of owners would have to say, well, we need to spend all of this money to help win around Juan Soto.
Look, I'm not billionaires and don't pretend to be. And so I am not going to question this line of business thinking to the degree that Scott Boras or the Lerners would.
Yeah.
But I would say this, and here's the part that doesn't make sense about any of that. They didn't have to sign him now because he was still under team control at an affordable rate.
Yeah.
At which point the new owners could decide either way, and that contract isn't on the ledger at all. It's a decision TBD for a new ownership group to come in and think about on their, on an expedited time frame of literally 1 year.
Yeah.
Let's say the sale gets done this fall, winter. They take over next spring. You have a year, because if you aren't going to re-sign him, you do have to trade him by the winter meetings the next year. You can't go to the trade deadline. I would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
But you do have a year. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have no time. You just have an expedited amount of time. And therefore, what I would argue back here is that it wasn't necessary to get it done. And secondarily, I would say this. So wait a minute. He's suggesting they were putting a contract in front of him that they knew he wouldn't sign to therefore enable them to trade him?
Probably.
Is that what he's...
I think it's what he's alluding to. He's not reporting that, but...
But that's what he's alluding to. That means he believes that to be true. And if you really think about that for a second... So let me get this straight. You're alluding to in a report that you think them offering him the most guaranteed money ever was a ruse?
That they knew Scott Boras wouldn't accept it.
What if he did?
Then you have Juan Soto for a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, but then he's saying their values would go down.
No, it would have just changed.
If he said yes, that's a hell of a game of chicken. If he said yes to it, and now he is on the ledger for them for that amount of money, well, then it defeated the purpose of the entire premise, which was we don't want to depress the value of the team by having him on it at that price.
Well, then you would have had him on the team at that price, and then he actually becomes tradable still. Somebody would have taken it because of the amount of money that he would have been making per year.
Maybe.
Not.
I mean, you talk about limiting things once years go by. You are limiting teams when you go 2 years into the $440 million deal.
Sure.
You got $380 left to take on 13 years of him.
But you get the same suitors. You get the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Maybe. I mean, they may even look at that and go, I don't know, man. Like, you don't know.
You don't know, but I would say most likely they do because of the
Most
AAV.
likely. Most likely.
So that's why I think they would have considered it, because then you make the next owners decide anyways.
Okay, that whole Boras ended up being right, or he's saying that he knew this, right? One of the two. Like, okay, so they wanted to sell the team. I would prefer to believe that they made these offers because they thought it would increase the value of the team by having him signed because of who he is, what he represents, and how good he is.
At that price, yes. Yes. Like both things are correct. I think they gave him offers that he would probably say no to.
Oh, so they're saying, okay, so you're saying at this price,
yes,
which is the most money ever,
sure,
this is worth it to have you here when we sell the team because you're an asset.
Because he'd be I think the ranking he says it there is like 19. It'd be the 19th or 20th ranked salary AAV wise.
I know, and you know what? Every time people bring that up, I go, okay, please name me the people who are making more per year, and a number of them are on very short-term deals.
Sure.
Okay, so that's not fair.
No, one of them Scherzer. Yeah,
Max Scherzer is one of those people. He got a 2-year deal. No one would give him $440 million over 15 years at this stage of his career. Like, he is on as rental can be, but he's a high-price rental because he is who he is.
Right.
Like, that I don't think is comparable. I really don't.
It is something Boras has said out loud, though, and that's key about it.
Of the people who have contracts of this length, right, at this age, those are the comps I want to see.
Right.
Is this in line with what Tatis got? Is this in line with what Trout got?
Right.
Is this in line with what Stanton got, Mookie Betts got? Then we can have a conversation about that and say, is this really in line with those types of numbers? But when you kind of cherry pick what Trevor Bauer got on a very short-term deal or Max Scherzer got, I I don't think it's apples to apples. I think it's kind of apples to oranges when somebody overpays on a short-term number.
No, I
just
agree.
a short-term, because they know they're getting out of it really quickly.
No, I agree with you on that one. It's a
completely different thing.
It's different financial commitment.
Yes. If you want to talk about the long-term deals that have happened, and you'll find some examples of people like Acuna who got robbed, really, robbed.
Yep.
He got robbed. Or you could look at people like Tatis, Trout, Stanton, who got market value contracts. And some people argue Tatis is a little bit low, but it's not a lot low. It's maybe a little bit low.
Right.
Now we're talking about where I think Juan Soto lands, which is, what's Trout making? Give him that.
Right.
That's to be it.
Correct. Which was that was $35 million.
That was 35. He was at like 29. Right.
Correct.
Now, if you, shifted the numbers around and he's making 38 in years 1 through 5,
right.
And then it kind of settles down a little bit because you would assume as he gets older the money would go down. Well, then he would be making more than Mike Trout in the first 5 years. So I don't know how they structured it. Whatever.
Yeah.
At least there were no deferrals this time around.
Correct.
Also because it wasn't their money to spend.
That's right.
Okay. So, all right. So I think we finally hit, I still think, personally, that they shouldn't have traded him.
Okay.
That I still think they should have let this next ownership group deal with it, because if the purpose is to say, like, he's here at this price on your team and therefore the value of the team is worth this, but if we pay him too much, it then deflates the value of the team. Well, guess what value he would have been at for the next 2 years by not signing anything?
Right.
A low number. How's that not an asset then?
Right.
Other than choice is going to be yours, and trust me, the negotiation isn't going to be fun. Good luck with that.
Yes, and that's where I think it's worth mentioning. Rizzo has said from the beginning, they, 1, didn't let a new set of owners affect anything, and that 2, they were going to act like he was running the team for the future that he had him. And so that's why he ultimately moved him, was because they were going to stink the next 2 years, whether he's running the team or not. They got the most that they could out of it because of how crappy their farm system was.
Oh man. I'm lost on the logic of it. It's not logically sound to me. Like, if you're telling me that he's an asset at a price,
right.
And I have to think he is because of how good he is in his age and how liked he is and all that stuff. How marketable is, liked he is, all that stuff. There's no he's kind of a jerk.
Sure.
There's none of that. Well, you had him at an incredible price for the next owner to deal with that. How would that depress the value of the team? If you didn't push the nuclear button and determine this had to be done right now, then you wouldn't have had a problem with it. If they're going to be the long-term owners, I would be more apt to hear out this theory. But because they're not, at some point I just wish they would have walked away and said, forget it, we're going to leave it up to you. He's only making blah, blah, blah next year, which is way under what he should be making because he's chosen not to take a contract now, and that's all he's going to get in arbitration. Good luck with Scott Boras. Godspeed.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I still, once again, just saying it was because of the organizational incompetence that they would have to spend money on him, and then all of a sudden they'd have to spend even more money to surround him with talent.
But that's the next owner's choice.
Right.
That's the next owner's choice to do that. And to your point, if they get him on a deal that seems logical,
right,
then I suppose at a later date they could, entertain the idea of trading him. I think it's exponentially harder to trade somebody with 13 years left on their contract, but it's not like it's never happened. Stanton was traded with a crazy deal like that, just like a year or two into it.
Right.
Who was the guy from Colorado got traded on a crazy deal? Yeah. Yep. He signed a deal a year later. Yeah. It was 10 years long, whatever, some crazy amount of money. They traded him. So it can happen, I guess.
I think what you need to remember here, too, is that I think Mike Rizzo was running this, how if he's still running the team in 2 years, how he was looking at it big picture. Scott Boras wasn't going to re-sign with the team early by any means. So they had to at least throw him a contract offer that was big enough. They did. He said no, and he's going, we're not going to be good enough for the time that he's here. We need to get the max return, and that was the max return, right? Getting rid of him now. So
I'm still infuriated about the whole thing. I can tell. They are the team that, I don't care what they do on the field. I have no interest in talking about them at all.
They are.
But in the case of Juan Soto, I will revisit this over and over because it's just it's too big of a moment in the franchise's history to just go, call me in the spring.
Sure. And
the rest of what they're doing, call me in the spring.
And I would say that the Padres are still 16 games back of the Dodgers, won't win their division.
Yeah, but I'm not rooting against them. I mean,
neither am I. Neither am I. But I think you have to look at it today that they are closer to winning than they were when they had Juan Soto. That's to me math. I mean, they have 4 prospects in the top 55 of the baseball top 100 prospects.
I mean, if they're like not in the playoffs in the next 5 years, like at all,
5 years
at all,
5 years. That's you're overshooting it. I'm saying 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
3 years, you need to show me the signs that
beyond the signs.
Yeah,
it has to be beyond the signs.
Right. I would say winning record has to be on site.
Okay.
The only other thing I'll pull from that Passan thing was that he had said specifically that had they signed Soto to a big deal, that basically it put him in a bad position because they knew ownership would have to spend more right away than if they didn't. And so that was one of the reasons. The other one was that Mike Rizzo and Juan Soto did embrace each other when he had to say goodbye to everybody, and there was no hard feelings between the two. That they were, friendly, remembered the good times, and Soto and Josh Bell then headed off to a private jet to go fly to San Diego.
The other thing too here, I mean, on the first part of it, which is, the new owners have to spend more money. You don't know who they are,
correct?
Do you,
Mike? But that's still
How are you speaking on behalf of a group that you don't know?
That's still a fact, though. They would have had to spend more money
if he's the GM.
Well, maybe, but if Soto was on the team, they would feel compelled to spend around him.
This seems to spin around his idea that he's going to be the person who's the architect of the rebuild entirely. And considering they didn't develop people very well, their draft picks don't seem to be working out. Their farm system was a mess, so much so that they decided to do this in advance of a sale of the team. If I'm the new owner, I'm not listening to this guy.
And that's a more than fair point.
So he's sitting here saying all this stuff like, why I have to do this on behalf of them? What are you talking about? You don't even know who they are.
He's still going to build the team the way he wants.
My future wife only wants me to do this. Who's your future wife? I haven't met her yet.
Still, he's running the team like he would regardless.
Like he's talking in assumptions about people he doesn't know, unless there's something we don't know, like it's already lined up.
Maybe.
Unless Ted's sitting in the background going, trade him before I show up, because I can't do it.
He would never
Ask
do that.
Bradley.
He would never do that, actually.
Never. He would never trade him. He'd be here forever. He'd sign him to a 10-year deal after the 15-year deal.
Right.
That's what Ted would do.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Want to play hooky with us? Enter for your chance to win 2 tickets to see the Orioles take on the Chicago Cubs next Thursday at Camden Yards, August 18th. Cal and I are going to be going there because it's a 3:05 start. We're going to play hooky with us that day. All you got to do is text us, 1-833-ESPN-630, 1-833-ESPN-630, and use the keyword crabs. Crabs, hon! Crabs! Crabs! Standard messaging and data rates apply. Boy, you put that in all caps. I guess I had to read that part.
You did. Okay. It's the most important part of the read, actually.
Got it. You can also text us about anything if you want.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Text lines are open.
Yeah, open. Okay. So I got 2 legendary things coming to an end here. One, I watched the penultimate Better Call Saul last night.
Okay.
There is only 1 episode left of the Fine series, and it is coned full circle, and it is amazing. They have turned Saul back into the 2-bit huckster that he was from the start. He had his rise. He has fallen. He's in the middle of nowhere, pulling off cheap, dumb crimes, and something's going to go down big in the finale.
Got it.
We don't know what. He's being chased by the police now. They found him. It's amazing. They buttoned up Kim's character very, very well, I thought, last night. Kudos, Vince Gilligan. They've had cameos now 2 straight weeks with the Breaking Bad guys. Pinkman's in both of them.
Right.
Walter White shows up in the one a week ago. Love it, love it, love it. Can't get enough of it. Can't believe you're going away. Hate that you're going away. Please make another series of something soon.
I'm sure he will. It's too big not to at this point. So,
and what's Bob Odenkirk doing next? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully something. He is very good at playing a slimy dude.
Right.
So hopefully it'll be another slimy dude in some way.
Exactly.
Find another slimy guy. Maybe he'll play Scott Boras in some. Maybe. That seems like a good character for him.
Yeah, I agree.
What was the one? There was an HBO show called Arliss that came out years and years ago about a super agent. named Arliss, and he dealt with all the big stars, and it was a comedy though. And Arliss was a little really smart, but a little hapless. I get a feeling that Boris isn't of that kind of mentality.
Yeah, but I'm sure all it's going to take is one salty person to make a movie to make him look like that anyway.
Yeah,
so
I think so. I might make that movie. If I had the money to fund that movie to take down Boris, I might.
You just need a big baseball fan that hates him. What's Kevin Costner doing?
Yeah,
does
Kevin
Costner hate Boris?
What does Costas think about it?
Oh, Costas. You can do that too.
Him too. Who would play Scott Boris?
Him, Bob
Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk. I mean, yeah,
slimy.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
No, just has.
I actually think
there's no good bone in his body.
That's one of those things where he doesn't really look like him, but I think he could get the mannerisms down really well.
Yeah,
because Boris is kind of robotic in a way.
Yeah.
He's robotic with the media, but then when he's sitting there with a player, he's a little more robust, I guess.
The other thing that's happened today is Serena Williams is officially going to retire from tennis. She wrote a first-person essay in Vogue today, and she didn't say for sure that she was retiring, but it sounds like she is, and it sounds like the U.S. Open will be her final tournament. And that's about it. She's obviously a mom now. She's also at an age where people typically don't play singles tennis any longer. That's right. She's certainly beaten the odds on that. And I think that there's an argument that she is the greatest athlete of a solo sport ever.
Yep. I said greatest female athlete, period.
Probably.
And, and
then
you have to have her in the conversation of any non-team sport.
Let's see. Tiger Woods. Or Jack Nicklaus, pick your golfer of choice.
Yep.
In my opinion, Mike Tyson, but I think others might say Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Right? Or, I don't know, Joe Louis, if you're going to pick a boxer. In men's tennis, I suppose it's either Federer or Nadal or Djokovic at this point.
Could say that, yeah.
I guess you could go way back and pick one of those other great singles players, but none of them won like those guys won, so it's hard to pick any of them. Martina Navratilova, I guess, would be the only one I could think of in women's tennis. Maybe Steffi Graf, I guess, or Margaret Court, maybe. I don't know. You have to go way back to find someone. I don't think anyone's on her level in tennis. It's hard to really put anybody. Maybe Martina to some degree. She was as dominant as she was. Who else?
I think you hit anyone that's even in the same stratosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she may be the greatest athlete of a solo sport ever, male or female, for that matter. Certainly for females. Team sports kind of hard to lump her in with any of it because, I know Michael Jordan was incredible, but his team was good too. It's not like he played with a bunch of also-rans. That didn't happen. So it's hard to really know. But I might submit her number one on the list. Greatest solo sport athlete across any sport of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm no arguments here.
Yeah, so she's going to leave the game of tennis. She'll play the U.S. Open. That's going to be quite emotional when she loses somewhere along the way. I certainly hope that she gets at least into, at least a round or two, so it's not like a nobody that knocks her off. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it's like a, true, ranked player that's got a real shot to knock her off, because I'd hate to be like, the 268th ranked Romanian girl,
the 17-year-old,
who's 17 and screams every time she hits the ball, beat her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Good luck to you, Serena Williams, and whatever you do next. See what that is.
I liked her quote too. She pretty much said, "I think I should be at 30 Grand Slams because I basically came back from childbirth, had a pulmonary embolism, and." And I had postpartum depression. And she's like, as far as I'm concerned, I should have had 30, but I dealt with all these things 5 seconds after I had a child. So I like that quote from her, and I think she's right too.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Let's revisit the Sam Mills firing. You'll hear from Ron Rivera, and I just sent you a clip from John Allen, who spoke after practice today about it, and we'll get some thoughts on the odd decision to fire an assistant coach in the middle of camp. Brave West Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital.